Okay, so this is where we paused yesterday. We said it has to be quantitative research with structured questionnaire, large statistically valid sample sizes, using probability sampling. We also said data collection can be through face-to-face or telephonic or online or whatever. So shall we see a sample questionnaire? Let's take soaps as an example. I mean, why soaps? A very common category. Anybody and everybody can relate to the category. Right? So we'll take soaps as an example. And we'll start section by section. So there's no awareness and ad recall questions are worded. When I mention soap, what is the first brand that comes to your mind? First brand. Okay. If you remember, we said this is called top of mind. Right? If you remember, we also said instructions to the interviewer are written in bold and capitals. What the interviewer is supposed to read out is in sentence case. So the interviewer is supposed to write this verbatim, as in exactly whatever words the respondent says. So the respondent can say, just for example, many weeks. The interviewer says, can you give me the full name? The respondent says nothing, it is many weeks only, that's all. Which other brands of soap are you aware of? And the respondent says, I am aware of Rexona, I am aware of Lifebuoy, I am aware of Hammam, I am aware of Neem, of whatever, some XYZ, and so on and so forth. Please understand, we are not trying to limit it to 4. This is a sample questionnaire. In reality, this can go up to 4, 5, 10, 8, 9, even 15, 20 brands. Some categories, consumers are aware of 8, 10, 15 brands. Some they are aware of only 3 or 4 brands. The next question would be, when I mention soap, for which brand do you remember seeing or hearing any ads recently? On TV, or newspapers, or magazines, or radio, or OTT, etc., etc., etc. Right? Again, record, go back. You're okay with this question so far?
Yes.
We'll go forward. So continuing with, we had asked for which one brand you remember, for which other brands you remember seeing or hearing any ads recently. Yes. Yeah, we can do that, yes. Thank you. So this finishes the unaided awareness question. And ad recall questions are over. Okay. Now we go to the aided questions. We show a card, meaning a list of brands. We show a list of brands. And we just call it brands of soap just for discussion's sake. In an online question, it will just come below. It will say, please see below kind of thing. So here we say, please look at this card and tell me which brands of soap are you aware of, apart from the ones you already mentioned. You don't want to double count it, right? So apart from the ones you already mentioned. Likewise, please look at the card and tell me for which other brands of soap do you remember seeing or hearing any ads recently. Again, apart from the ones you've already mentioned. So this is aided brand awareness. This is aided ad recall. So clear? And the answers, the way we write the answers come on the next page. So traditionally in market research, you don't put a tick. Sorry about that. You don't put a tick. You have to circle. This is the correct way to do it. So I'm aware of these brands. You have to circle. This is just a market research convention. Likewise, I've seen ads for these brands. I've seen ads for this brand. I've seen ads for this brand. Is it clear so far?
I have a doubt.
Yes.
It can happen that people don't remember what they had already mentioned, right? What happens is...
Yeah, but when in doing analysis, we'll take a double counting if it happens. Yeah, somebody by mistake mentions, say Santur, both in unaided and in aided. We'll take care of an analysis. We'll count it only once. That will take care of it. Yeah. We'll go forward. Now, there is a section. It's very important, a very powerful question called ad recognition. So, please see the card and tell me. So, we show still from the ad. I explained this earlier as well. We show the still from the ad, but without the brand name. Okay? So, no brand name. But the ad is there. The key scene from the ad is shown. We show that and we say, can you tell me if you've seen this before? If the person says yes, then we say, can you tell me for which brand of soap it was for? Now here the person can say the correct name, or he can say wrong name, or he can say I don't recall. Okay. Now in this particular example, we had shown two ad stills. Sometimes we show only one, sometimes we show different ads of different brands. In this particular study, example that we have taken, we have shown two ads for the same brand. Alright, let's go forward. So continuing with this, the next section is purchase and usage behavior. It is purchase and usage behavior with respect to soaps. So the first question is, which brands have you ever tried or used in the past? This leads to a measure called trial. Okay. Which brands do you use nowadays? So the person says, I have used Santoor, I have used Medimix, I have used Hammam, I have used Synthol, I have used Pierce, I have used Lux, I have used Dove. Which brands do you use nowadays? Well, nowadays I mainly use Medimix. The person is, but sometimes I use Synthol as well. So the next question will be, so since you have said more than one brand in the use nowadays, so ask only if more than one brand in question 2 above. Then the next question would be, can you tell me which of these brands do you use most often? So between Medimix and Synthol, which brand do you use most often? And here the answer could be Medimix. Okay. And this data is captured like this here. So what we said is, the person has used Medimix, the person has used Synthol, the person has used Lux, the person has used Pierce, and some of the brands we mentioned from that list, it's not here maybe. The person is currently using Medimix and Synthol, and the brand that is used most often is Medimix. So ever used, current use, most often used. Okay, so far?
Yes.
If I'm going too fast, you can stop me. It's fine. So the next section is the consumer disposition questions, which is consumer's opinion about the various brands. So please have a look at the card. What is this card? The same set of brands, the list of brands. Tell me which brands do you normally like to buy. You can choose one brand or more than one brand. Do you have one favorite brand? Sometimes consumers say they don't have a favorite brand. So you don't want to say, tell me which is a favorite brand. You want to tell the consumer the option of saying, I don't have a favorite brand. Or if you have a favorite brand, they need to mention one favorite brand. This is a single response question. Single response. Only one answer is possible. Now, if your preferred brands, the brands that you like, are not available, which other brands are you open to purchasing? Which of the soaps will you definitely not purchase? Meaning, which ones will you reject? Okay, the moment we talked about any brand which has more than 20% rejection in a category, it is in trouble. There are some brands for which you will say, I like it so much that even if it increases price by 20%, I'll pay. Which of these brands is that? So out of this list, which brand or brands would you pay extra for? So these are the 5 questions which relate to the brand. And the answer comes in the next page here. So this is like to buy. This is one favorite. This is reject. No, sorry, this is accept if your preferred brands are not available. This is reject. This is pay extra. Okay. There was a sixth question there. We talked about consumer involvement yesterday. Please see the card and tell me which statement describes your opinion. It doesn't matter which brand is sold. It's all the same. What does it matter to me? Right? It matters to some extent which brand I soap we use. It's very important which brand I use. And these are the people who are likely to be most loyal. These are the people who will keep experimenting. So in an ideal situation, we want this to be 100%. But that's not always the case, of course. So based on the percentage for each of these three questions, we will know the extent to which there is consumer involvement in that category. Okay, so far?
Yes.
And this is imagery and brand positioning. So this question wording is extremely important, please. I have with me a set of parameters that people like you may be considering for choosing a brand. As I read out each of the statements or parameters, please have a look at this card. What card is this? Again, it's the same list of brands, right? Show card brands. Have a look at this card and tell me which brands suit this statement best. You can mention just one brand, or you can mention more than one brand, or you can even say none of the brands. There are no right or wrong answers. We just want your opinion. Remember what we talked about when we did questionnaire design. This is a question for which we want them to think and answer, and therefore it's a long burden question. Is the question clear? I have with me a set of parameters that people like you may be considering for choosing a brand. As I read out each of the statements, please have a look at this card and tell me which brands suit this statement best. You can mention one brand, or more than one brand, or even none of the brands. There are no right or wrong answers. We just want your opinion. Question is clear? And this is how we write the answers here. So, this brand of soap smells good. Which brand is it? I think Medimix smells good. I also think Marco smells good. This brand of soap lathers well. Medimix lathers very well. I don't know with other brands. This brand of soap makes the skin soft. I know Medimix makes the skin soft. I know Santu does it. I know Manjal also does it. This brand of soap removes excess oil. I think Medimix does it. I also Marco does it. This neem, which is good for the skin. This brand of soap has got attractive packaging. Oh, I think Pierce is very attractive packaging. And so on and so forth. Is the question clear? Okay. So there are a series of statements here that we can see, and we go forward from there. Now, so before we go to the final output, let us pause here. But there's one important point that I want you to remember. When we talked about questionnaire design, we said the question wordings are in simple language that consumers can relate to. We don't use marketing, jargon. We don't use market research jargon. We use consumer speak. And you would have seen that in this questionnaire. Which brands are you aware of? Which brands have you ever used? For which brands have you seen advertising recently on television or radio? All this is the way common man speaks to each other, right? We don't have any kind of marketing language at all, right? Can we pause here and then come back? And when we come back, we will look at the analysis outputs.